Hello everyone, welcome to another live episode, and where you guys can ask me questions. And today we're going to cover how to lower pH, my favorite things, and what I like to use. And as always, we can have a quick Q&A at the end of it, and I'll go ahead and walk you guys through all this. So let's go ahead and get started. Flip you guys around. So there's many things you can use when you want to lower pH. First thing I want to talk about is water, which I have hard water naturally. And if you got softer water like RO, low TDS, you're going to have less of a buffer. Hard water, it's a little thicker. It's kind of like the thickness of the water. So that'll make a difference with how low the pH ends up going. But as far as things to use, and that's what they call buffering too. And as far as things to use, you can use Kotappa leaves, peat moss, Sphagnum Moss. They make this pH down, and CO2 you could also use. Let me go ahead and address the elephant in the room too while I got a poop water tank here. This is actually green water that I use tetracycline in, which is what this used to be, a breeding algae tank, completely full algae. Was awesome tank, but I had a lot of eco-complete in it and I want to utilize it, so I actually used that and it cleared all the algae out of this. Like, there used to be a huge algae wall and everything. Many of you guys that have been following me for a long time know about this tank. But I keep this rack here, and it has a long photo period, so I get green water and I use it to breed some fish. Anyway, I'm using that in here. I gotta change the water in that afterwards, but I also tested hydrogen peroxide out in this green water tank. It looks pretty good, so we'll see how that comes out. I'm definitely liking the hydrogen peroxide method a little more. So that's just a little extra tidbit for you guys. Back to that though. CO2, you can use that to lower the pH, and harder your water is, the harder it's going to be to lower the pH with that. The softer, the easier it will be to lower with the gas. Now the peat moss will release a lot of tannins and organics in the water, which actually promotes a lot of algae growth. I love the look of it. I love the look of black water tanks, but trying to grow plants with it, I found to be a real challenge. And as far as keeping it in a media bag, I've done it as a substrate, and it was a pain to get fish out because they would just dive straight into the peat moss and you couldn't get them. So if they're scattering eggs, you're just burying eggs in peat moss and stuff like that. So that didn't work out great for me. Catappa leaves, they do okay. You'd really have to litter up the tank a lot, or well, I guess you could fill up a bag, but these aren't the cheapest way, and it also creates a lot of tannins too, which tannins are good, nothing wrong with them. And then you got the pH down here, and I've tried this. It's not stable. To me, everything in it, it's not the healthiest for a tank and fish, and definitely not natural. Which I like some API stuff, but not all of it. But my favorite is the Sphagnum Moss. Now this Sphagnum Moss, you can just stick it in a media bag like this, and as it decomposes, it makes the water more acidic. And this doesn't release any tannins either. And this stuff's pretty cheap. I think I got a quart, which is what this is, for like $8 shipped off of eBay. And it's nice and green, and it stays green for quite a while under a tank. And it keeps the pH down too for a long time. Like, this will last you a long time. And essentially all I do is use a media bag. As many of you know, I've been working on breeding tetras, and I haven't had any luck with that yet. Could be due to I don't have the pH low enough for them to trigger a spawn. So hoping that this works. If I can get this in here. Hard to do with one hand. I did get a new stand, but of course I didn't bring that down. So alright, while I'm stuffing this, you guys can ask me some questions if you want to. I've kind of ran through most of it. And as far as raising pH, we'll go through that in another video as well. Same with dosing this stuff. I'll kind of go through a video with you guys on that too. Many of you guys know with this live stream now, I can start doing daily videos for you guys. But you don't really need a whole lot. Of course, the more you use, the more acidic, more it'll help. But there's one thing, you can just stick this in the tank too, and tetras will spawn all around it. But the method I'm using, instead of playing musical fish, I'm doing it a little more controlled. I got this mesh breeder bag. So I'm not planning on doing it that way. As far as the peat moss, what you guys see, hold on, I gotta cut this. Always, let me get my hand out of the way. I always like to cut the string here. That way I can just tie it. But the peat moss, I try to get organic peat moss. This is the kind I got. You can see the website's on there. And as far as getting this, I found that on eBay. Many sellers sell Indian almond leaves and stuff. You can use oak leaves too, I hear. But Indian almond leaves and getting live plants is a bugger. Says Brooke. Okay, any more questions? Does peroxide kill your bacteria, Lucas? I'm not sure as far as the cycling. I think it may have some effect, but as much as it does, I don't know if it's that extreme. It depends on the maturity of the tank as far as hydrogen peroxide being an issue. Alright, so pretty much that's it. You just stick some Sphagnum Moss in there and then give it a couple days. It'll kind of take a while to take effect, but once it does, it works great. Water stays clear. And it'll get it down to, like, since this is softer water, it'll get the pH down to around 5 and 6, which is really great for a bunch of tetras trying to breed them. What pH levels are you trying to get to? I'm trying to get to, like, around 6 would be great for that. If I get to 6.5, that's probably good enough. 5.5, in between that range. Like, it doesn't have to be a specific one, really. A lot of times you just have to get into the range. And, yeah, a lot of people, they try to pinpoint, like, certain ranges and hit, like, this number, that number. You gotta think, there's a lot of leeway in nature. So you can get away with a little more than you think. And fish will spawn in all kinds of different parameters. It doesn't have to be exact. Like many profiles and things, they give you exact measurements, which isn't always the case that it has to be that way. Sometimes some fish can be finicky, but very rarely. Especially tetras and stuff like that. Like they're breeding them in hard water now too. I keep a lot of my tetras in hard water and have for a long time. How long should I soak Malaysian driftwood before adding it to the tank? Pretty much till it floats. I mean, some people like to boil it. You could rinse it, stuff like that. Sometimes I'll just stick it in the tank and wait for it to naturally sink itself. There's all kinds of ways to do that. As far as Q&A, always try to, like these topics, like Fridays, I always have the ones where you can ask me anything. But if you do have questions that don't apply to this video per se, you can ask me in the comments below. I'll still answer you down there. But as far as like these kind of videos, definitely want to keep the questions on the stream about what we're doing today. What is the ratio of peroxide to gallon of water you use? It was 2 milliliters for each gallon, I believe. Yes, I believe that's true. Don't take my word for that yet, because I want to make sure I'm right about that. And I'll be making another video, like I said, about that for you guys. Alright, so I hope I taught you guys some stuff. Keep this short. How often do you change Kotappa leaves before they lose pH? A lot of times, like the shrimp and snails, they'll eat it away by the time it'll decompose. So it all depends. So they can last quite a while in the water. If they're not getting eaten, they can last a real long time. And it's all about the decomposing of the sphagnum moss and the leaves that are causing the acidity in the water. Alright. What type of tetra are you breeding? First starting off trying the Ember Tetras, and then I got some glow light tetras I want to try. I got a few that just, the females look huge. I got a couple community tanks. I'm picking some tetras out and just trying. But I know some breed in different ways and need like different heat and stuff like that. So it's all new ground for me, and I'm taking you guys for the wild ride of it. Alright, I'm about done with the Reginas of oddballaquatics.com. Their fish room. I did a fish room tour with Aquarium Co-op, Sashimi Whiskey, Lep Diesel, and I've got footage of his and hers, and it's going to be a two-part. And I'll probably have them out, the one out tonight or early tomorrow for you guys. Alright, until then, I'll teach you guys how to sex tetras and all that stuff later, like breeding rummy nose. All that will come into the future as it happens. So I'm planning on bringing a live video to you guys every day. And no eggs yet in the Ember Tetras, Derek. That's why I'm using the Sphagnum Moss to lower the pH, and hopefully I'll have more luck. But alright, till next time, tomorrow, I'll see you guys then. Later. Peace.